Hello everyone, and welcome to the Greatest channel, Black Bedtime Stories. I am your greatest storyteller, Sam Adams. Tonight's story is about the Reconstruction Era. Now, the Reconstruction Era happened starting in 1865 to 1877. After the Civil War ended, the Reconstruction Era was one of the items that resulted from the North winning. It was a period in the history of the United States to help rebuild the southern part of the United States. Now, there were two real issues with the Reconstruction Era. One was what to do with 4 million enslaved Black people and the unionization of 11 southern states that left the Union. You see, there had to be rules for the 11 states that left the Union to return, and did the Emancipation Proclamation mean that the former slaves would enjoy the same rights as white people covered by the same laws? This period included the Civil Rights Act of 1866. It was known as the Radical Reconstruction. During this period, many former slaves became government leaders and civil rights activists. Andrew Johnson took office in April 1865 after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. President Johnson created the Presidential Reconstruction Era. Johnson's plan for rebuilding the Union was to pardon all Southern white persons except Confederate leaders and wealthy plantation owners, and restored all of their constitutional rights and property except enslaved persons. Enacted during 1865 and 1866, the Black Codes were laws intended to restrict the freedom of Black Americans in the South and ensure their continued availability as a cheap labor force even after the abolishment of slavery during the Civil War. All Black persons living in the states that enacted Black Code laws were required to sign yearly labor contracts. Those who refused or were otherwise unable to do so could be arrested, fined, and if unable to pay their fines and private debts, forced to perform unpaid labor. Many Black children, especially those with parental support, were arrested and forced into unpaid labor for white planters. The Black Code seriously limited the freedoms of Black Americans. This caused many people that supported President Johnson to turn their backs on him and the Republican Party. The Black Codes gave the Republican Party more influence in Congress. In 1870, the first Black senators and representatives were elected. Unfortunately, with the Depression of 1873 to 1879 and the election of Rutherford Hayes, many of the gains made by former enslaved Black people were diminished. The worst part was many of these Black people had to survive in poverty and lack. In spite of the Jim Crow laws and all the poverty, and injustice shown to Black people during these years. Black people continue to rise and do great things. There are always going to be difficult times for everyone. But Black people, African Americans, have had difficult times as a whole, and we continue to thrive, survive, and do great things. Dream on that tonight, young people, because you should know the shoulders where you stand. Good night.